Hi guys, it's Miss Winky again, and today we are going to go over Digital Notes 2, which cover Georgia's regions. Just like the last notes, you can go through it in present mode, and then when you hit the slides where there's something for you to do, you'll need to take it out of present mode so that you can move the pieces that are on that slide. There are also some videos embedded in today's lesson. As I go over the notes with you, I'm not going to play those videos, but I want you to play the videos when you go through on your review and practice run with these notes. So let's get started. Okay, so today's notes cover the geographic regions of Georgia, and there are 5 of them. Now, you remember from yesterday, we talked about regions and said that regions were geographic areas that were defined by specific traits. In other words, they're ways for us to categorize or classify certain areas of Georgia. So all of 5 of these areas, the cities within them all share certain specific traits. Now, here's something that you guys can do, and I believe you can do it directly from this slide. If you click on the map, it's going to take you to an interactive puzzle with Georgia's regions that is on the GPB website. So all you got to do is drag the regions into the right places, which I'm sure probably seems kind of dumb, except it's not, because later you're going to be labeling a map with Georgia's regions, and this might make it easier to do. All right, so when you get there, make sure that you check out that interactive puzzle so that you can get to know the regions better. Okay, so in this next section of notes, we're going to go through each one of Georgia's 5 regions, talk about some of the specifics about each. So we're going to start off with the Appalachian Plateau. You can see that it's right up here in the far northwestern corner of the state. It's also called the Tag Corner, TAG, because it touches Tennessee and Alabama. Now, here's another fun fact for you as you guys are going through those notes. Anytime you see something like this that's green, that's actually hyperlinked, and it's going to take you to either a website that gives you more information about that, or it's going to take you to like pictures. So for those of you that don't like have a visual, when I talk about the fall line, it's going to give you pictures of the fall line so that you could go, oh, that's what that area looks like. This one in particular is an article that tells you how to get to the Tag Corner so that you can stand in Tennessee, Georgia, and Alabama at the same time. And it talks about exactly how to get to that spot. So check it out if you're feeling adventurous. Okay, so the physical characteristics of the Appalachian Plateau are that it is flat, or it might be gently sloping. So it's not like super crazy mountainous. Eventually it starts sloping down into valleys as we head east towards the next region, the Valley and Ridge. The climate there, they do have a higher elevation and they are located at a more northerly latitude. So that means they've got cooler temperatures, but don't get crazy. This is still Georgia. So when I say cool, you got to keep it real. Summer temperatures can still get up in the 90s, but in the winter, they generally get cooler than we do. They're generally going to get down like, they can get down into the 20s. And they average about 5 inches of snow and ice every year. So they're not the ones that we hate because they get all the snow. I'm going to tell you which region that is in just a minute, but they do get more than we typically do in our region. In terms of agriculture, the Appalachian Plateau doesn't have a great deal of that, and that's mainly because the soil there is not super fertile. It's not really good for growing a wide range of crops. That's not to say that nothing is grown in the Appalachian Plateau. It's just not its #1 industry. There is some corn grown there, and then there are also soybeans grown there. In terms of their economic contributions, they have industries like tourism, which, that's an industry. When tourists come to visit your area, they're going to spend their money. And there are people who that is their job, is to attract tourists and try to get them to spend money at their businesses. Forestry is also a big industry in the Appalachian Plateau. So that would be like growing and harvesting trees and then using those trees to make different products. Mining is also an industry in the Appalachian Plateau. Historically speaking, it's the only region in Georgia where coal has ever been found. Not sure if they're like actively mining coal in the Appalachian Plateau these days, but it has historically been mined in that region. And limestone is also mined here. And you can click on the green there to get a visual of what I'm talking about when I talk about limestone. Okay, interesting features. And I know for those of you who are not big fans of geography, I should probably put air quotes around interesting, but these are the things that kind of stand out in that region. Cloudland Canyon is located in the Appalachian Plateau, and so is Lookout Mountain. And Lookout Mountain is a mountain peak where you can see several states at one time. So because of the location in that tag corner, you're touching at least 2 other states, and then you can see some other states as well. We're gonna have to click on this one. I just can't see it. We don't look at it. There we go. So there's a picture from Lookout Mountain, and you can see waterfalls there. So maybe sometime you guys can go and check that out. There are also caves located in the Appalachian Plateau. One of the Civil War battles that's in the standards for Georgia studies is the Battle of Chickamauga. That was actually fought in the Appalachian Plateau region, right on the border between Georgia and Tennessee. And then another interesting fact about the Appalachian Plateau is that it's obviously the smallest of Georgia's 5 regions in terms of land area. Okay, so when you get to this video, this is a quick YouTube video from Georgia Public Television about the Appalachian Plateau. All of these videos are under 5 minutes long, so you're not going to find yourself like asleep and drooling when you really ought to be watching the video. They're just quick hits that kind of review what we've talked about in the notes. So be sure that you take 2 or 3 minutes out and watch this video. All right, moving on to the ridge and valley. You can see the arrow pointing to it here. You can also see that on this map, it is referred to as valley and ridge. That's okay. It's referred to interchangeably as either ridge and valley or valley and ridge. So one is not right and the other is wrong. They're both used correctly to refer to this region. So its location, the easiest way to describe it is that it's located between the Appalachian Plateau region and the Blue Ridge region. So we're not going to get all fancy with our geographic terms here, but it is between the Appalachian Plateau and the Blue Ridge region. Physical characteristics, guys, it's called that for a reason, ridge and valley. It's made up of long, high ridges that are separated by fertile valleys. And if you click on the green link, you can see a picture of what I'm talking about. So these long, high ridges, and then in between the ridges are valleys, and the valleys are where you'd find better soil that can be farmed. Okay. All right. So in terms of their climate is actually similar to the Appalachian Plateau, and they also get some snow and ice. All right, in terms of agriculture, they are able to farm in the valleys. Like I said, that's where the more fertile soil is located. They grow corn, soybeans, wheat, and cotton have been grown in the Ridge and Valley. And then they also depend on forestry. Hardwood and pine timber are harvested there. Economic contributions. So the one thing that the Valley and Ridge area is really known for is producing textiles and carpets. At one point, the city of Dalton, which is located in the Ridge and Valley, was known as the carpet capital of the world. A lot of that industry has moved to other countries. So I'm not sure where Dalton really falls in the rankings of, in terms of being carpet capital, but it is something that region is known for doing, and there's also been some mining in that region. Interesting features, we just talked about Dalton, and then there are also caves that are located in that region. Again, when you're going over this slide, be sure you click on these highlighted green words and phrases, because those are going to show you pictures of what I'm talking about, and a picture is worth 1,000 words. So here's the quick video from GPB about the Ridge and Valley region. Make sure you watch that before you move on to the next section. Okay, so the Blue Ridge is right here. This is located in the northeastern corner of our state. And the Blue Ridge's physical characteristics, it's got the highest elevations in Georgia. So in other words, the highest mountain peaks in the state are located in that region. The highest mountain peak in the state of Georgia is located there. That's Brasstown Bald, and it's at a whopping 4,784 feet above sea level. That's pretty high. Look, let's click on the picture because I think if I remember, I like this picture a lot. Yeah, okay, so look out. That almost looks like it's a lighthouse and you're looking at the ocean, right? Except it's not. Those are mountain peaks and those are clouds. So that gives you an idea of how high this mountain peak is. Like you are actually up above the clouds. And on some days when you've got really low-lying cloud cover, you're really up above the clouds and it almost looks like you're looking at the ocean. The Appalachian Trail, which if you're a hiker, the Appalachian Trail is like one of those bucket list kind of things for hikers. They want to hike the length of the Appalachian Trail, and it begins at Springer Mountain, which is located in the Blue Ridge region. The Chattahoochee River also begins in the Blue Ridge region, and the Savannah River runs along the eastern border of that region and like enters the state in the Blue Ridge region. In terms of its climate, here's where it's a little different. Temperature-wise, it's about the same as the Appalachian Plateau and the Ridge and Valley, but the Blue Ridge gets the most precipitation in the state of Georgia. They get over 80 inches of rain per year. So this region, kids, they're the ones that you hate. Whenever you are watching the news or watching your social media and waiting to find out if school is going to be closed because of snow, it's always the schools in the Blue Ridge region that end up getting closed and not us, because they get more precipitation, plus they've got those cooler temperatures, so they're more likely to get snow. All right, in terms of agriculture, there are a lot of small farms located in the Blue Ridge. You don't find as many like large commercial farms there, but lots of small farms. They produce things like apples, corn, and vegetables. There are pastures there, and those are home to large animals that are being bred. Economic contributions, mining, historically speaking, was kind of a big deal in the Blue Ridge. In fact, the Blue Ridge was home to one of the first gold rushes in the United States. Copper, marble, granite, all of those have been and are still being mined in the Blue Ridge region. Tourism is definitely a big deal in the Blue Ridge. You'll understand why in just a second when we get like the features, because a lot of the let's go see it things in the northern regions of Georgia are located in the Blue Ridge. And it also has a lot of trees, and so timber is harvested there as well. So the forestry industry is alive and well in Blue Ridge. Okay, so interesting features. I already showed you Brasstown Bald, which is the highest mountain peak in the state of Georgia. And then we already talked about the Appalachian Trail, which starts at Springer Mountain in Georgia. Tallulah Gorge is also located there, and Amicalola Falls. And Amicalola Falls may be the one that you guys are the most familiar with because a lot of people like to go up there and climb up to the top and take pictures. So all of those bring tourists to the region. And those are all like outdoor tourism. So even right now with things that are kind of crazy and you're not supposed to go to places that are super crowded, these are outdoor tourist attractions. So they have been busy with all the people that have been interested in getting out of the house and going to see something up in North Georgia. We talked about the first gold rush being located there. That actually happened in the city of Dahlonega. Dahlonega is right now the home to the University of North Georgia. Gold was discovered there. We're going to talk about that later in our history units. And you can still go up there and try to mine for gold, and you might get lucky and find a little bit here and there. So here's GPB's video on the Blue Ridge. Take a minute or two out of your day and watch that before you move on to the next region. All right, the Piedmont region is next. This one is located in the more central part of the state. The mountain regions are to its north, and then this physical feature, the fall line, is what separates the Piedmont from the coastal plain. And we'll talk specifically about the fall line a little bit later in Unit 1. Physical characteristics of this region, it's known for gently rolling hills. It's not really mountainous, but it's not really flat. We've got gently rolling hills. In fact, the name Piedmont means foot of the mountain in Cherokee. The elevations in the Piedmont region slope down gradually towards the fall line. Another physical characteristic of the Piedmont, we have a very distinctive soil here. That red Georgia clay is what you most often find in the Piedmont region. The reason it's red is because when the water mixes with the iron rust that's in the soil, it gives it that red color, and it's really characteristic of this region. If you play sports, your parents are very familiar with Georgia red clay because it does not come out of those white pants or your white shoes. Okay, climate. Guys, you live in this region, so I shouldn't have to tell you anything about the climate. It gets steamy and hot in the summer. Sometimes we get snow in the winters, and we are more likely to get tornadoes than some of the regions to our north. Okay, agriculture. Lots of crops grown here, not where most of the crops in the state of Georgia, but there are plenty of crops grown in the Piedmont region, like cotton, soybeans, and wheat. We also raise a lot of livestock, particularly poultry, and a lot of eggs being produced by those poultry. Hogs are raised in the Piedmont region, as well as cattle, specifically beef cattle. In terms of the economic contributions, timber is harvested in this region, and most of Georgia's industries are located in the Piedmont region. So stop and think. Why do you think that is? What's located in the Piedmont region that would make most of the industries in the state of Georgia decide to centralize here? If you said Atlanta, you're right. Products like carpet, aircraft, automobile manufacturing, a lot of those big industries are located in the Piedmont region, and it's because of the location of the city of Atlanta. Agriculture is definitely important in this region as well. So we have the most industry of all the regions, but there are definitely crops that are important in this region too. Okay, interesting features. We've got the second largest land area in the state. So we're not the biggest, but we're the next to the biggest in terms of the amount of land area. But we do have the highest population of all the regions, and that's because of those big cities like Atlanta and Macon being located in the region. In fact, we have more than half of Georgia's population living in our region. Half of Georgia's population or more is living in our region. Stone Mountain is in the Piedmont region. If you haven't been there, click on the green link so you can look at a picture. There's actually, Stone Mountain is just the part you can see of this large vein of granite that runs from the Piedmont region all the way up into North Carolina. So it runs underground in the Piedmont region, specifically at Stone Mountain. You can see it. Erosion has worn it away, so you can see the granite, and that granite is what makes up the mountain. But it also continues to run underground all the way up through the rest of the region up into North Carolina, and that's why it's mined in our region. Okay, when you get here, take a minute and watch the video on the Piedmont region. All right. The coastal plain is the last region that we're going to talk about today, or the last of the five, I should say. In terms of its location, it's the furthest south. It's the southernmost region of our state. It makes up 60% of the state's land area, and it can actually be so big it can be divided into two parts: the inner coastal plain and the outer coastal plain. The inner coastal plain is where most of Georgia's crops are grown. And then the outer coastal plain is where you would find like the Okefenokee Swamp and Georgia's barrier islands and the actual coast of Georgia where it meets the Atlantic Ocean. And most of our major rivers flow through that region to the Atlantic Ocean or to the Gulf of Mexico. In terms of its climate, y'all know it's hot down there. It gets hot and steamy in the summer. They do get cool weather in the winters, but they're typically not going to get those freezing temperatures. Snowfall and ice are therefore unlikely, but they do get a lot of tornadoes in that region. Agriculture, the inner coastal plain has really fertile soil, and that's the reason why most of Georgia's crops are grown there. So we're talking crops like peanuts, peaches, soybeans, cotton, Vidalia onions, which are a type of onion that is only grown around Vidalia, Georgia, and then pecans. The outer coastal plain, that soil there is not as fertile because it's got a lot of sand in it as you get closer to the coastline of the state. But they have a lot of pine trees, and there are some row crops that are grown there. And by row crops, I mean things like corn. Economic contributions, the pulp and paper industry is big there because of the pine trees that are grown. Commercial fishing and seafood production is a big deal because they're on the coast, as well as tourism and recreation. And those are all industries that are really important to the barrier islands and to Georgia's coastal cities. Coastal plain agriculture as a whole is critical to Georgia's economy. Like, agriculture is still one of our #1 industries in the state. And since the coastal plain grows most of those crops, their agriculture is a critical piece of Georgia's economy. We also have 2 deep water ports located in Savannah and Brunswick. And then we have inland ports in Bainbridge and Columbus. And these connect Georgia's products with global markets. And again, y'all go back and click on the green hyperlinks here so that you can see pictures and just kind of have a visual image of what I'm talking about. Some of the interesting features in the coastal plain include the barrier islands. Okay, we do have beaches in the state of Georgia on the barrier islands. The Okefenokee Swamp is also located there. All right, so take a minute, watch the video on the coastal plains. Okay, so now we're at the part where you're going to need to take your presentation out of present mode and put it in edit mode so that you can complete these assignments. First, for the regions review, you're going to drag these colored numbers and you're going to label the regions map. Each number goes with one of the regions. So you need to drag the number over and label it with the correct region name. Then in this section, each square on the chart has a description of a region. Down here in the corner, you're going to find tiles. I'm going to take myself out of presentation mode so I can demonstrate. You're going to find tiles with the names of the regions. There are 3 of them for each region. So read each description and then drag the tiles over that have the correct name of the region that description describes. Okay, so I'm going to undo, and put those back. That's going to be the last thing that you're going to need to finish up. So thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Did you hear me, Ella? I just stole your line. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk about Georgia's regions. When you're finished watching this video, exit out of it and then go on to the review and practice link so that you can review the information and then complete these reviews at the end. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you later. Bye.